Today we're reviewing Jordan Reid's final 7-round 2025 NFL mock draft. Let's jump right into this. Of course, if you're new, feel free to like, comment, subscribe. The best way to support the show outside of that is by being able to use that code HAILMARY at UnderDog Fantasy. It's a quick link in the description below, and that says to be $60, gets you up to 1,000. But let's get into this number one pick, Cam Ward. We've gone ad nauseum about this for like pretty much months now. Let's save ourselves the time because we're going to be going through all 257 picks. Let me know what you think of the new audio as well. It shouldn't be that drastic, but gotta just thank my guy Trevor Sycamore for putting me onto this. This is the mic that he ends up using, but I'm no audio engineer. I'm still working it out. So getting ready for every single moment of the NFL draft. We're going to be live, so please feel free to come and join and hang out. On the first day, I'm still working it out, but I believe we're going to be doing it solo. So we're going to be able to have, as you guys know, my style, which is talking to all of you, rather than necessarily having a back and forth with our beautiful friend Broshma, which we'll be doing for days 2 and 3, because those days are a little bit more brutal. Number 2, Browns go Travis Hunter. Seems like that's now the consensus about what's going on, and I do have this inkling that Shedeur's going to fall. Browns are going to take Travis and Shedeur. I really do hope for the storyline that that's the case, but you can't really go wrong whether it's Abdul or Trav. At number 3, you got the Giants going Abdul Carter here, especially with KT in terms of long-term vision. You don't know what that's going to be, and Abdul needs a little bit of time to develop. I think that's perfectly fine if you stick and pick. Number 4, the Patriots going Will Campbell. It just, all signs look like they're pointing towards the Patriots going Will at number 4. Sometimes you just don't want to take the risk. If you really believe in the guy, you believe in the guy. I'm not the biggest believer in the guy, but I also do think that there's definitely, if you're talking about 1,000 universes, there's probably like 700 of them where Will Campbell is a damn good player, and maybe probably 300 of them where he's worth this number 4 pick. And for some people, that's worth the odds. But for me, maybe not so much. Jacksonville's been labeled a team that's been potentially looking to trade back, but Mason Graham fits them perfectly. I think that's going to be the selection if they cannot move out of 5. People talking about Ashton Genty. For the sake of time, I'll talk about it. I think that you look at the background of both Gladstone and Cohen, doesn't make any sense. Tampa Bay, Bucky Irving, success, not a first-round pick by any means, day 3 pick. And then you look at Gladstone coming from Los Angeles, where they pretty much taken running backs round 3 or later and had their most success there. Even though, Cam Akers, but I don't think Gladstone was in the decision-making room at that point. And even if he were, they've had even arguably more success with other backs, in my opinion. So I just don't see them valuing it at that rate. At number 6, you got the Las Vegas Raiders going Ashton Genty. And again, I'm starting to think that this is Jalen Walker's spot because he fits this defense to a T. He can end up being an edge rusher, which you have short-term contracts. Edge 2 is certainly not sold for the long run. But also, if he ends up failing, your linebacker core sucks. Ends up actually kind of working out that way. And people were saying, hey, he's going to fall potentially. He could fall to 8. The key word is fall. It looks like everybody's on board with him going very high. This seems like a likely spot to where even though Pete Carroll loved Marshawn Lynch, which Ashton Genty would be his Marshawn Lynch, we could see Chip Kelly trying to say, hey, I really, really want to get my guy in round number 2, whether that be Quinn, Sean, or Trey, and go from there and get Jalen here. That might end up being what happens. At number 7, the Jets go Armand Membu. Praying this does happen. I mean, I don't really think Tyler Warren should go at number 7 over Armand Membu. So I'm just hoping that they end up doing. I hope Membu gets to this point. I don't think he's as polished as people like to say, but he has the potential to be amazing. And if Fashanu is going to work, Membu is going to work. If they both fail, they both fail. But, kind of trying to put 2 different styles of tackle on the same offensive line doesn't seem to be a good strategy either. If you're really believing Fashanu, which I would, and I think you should, then go Armand Membu. At number 8, the Panthers go Jalen Walker. I'm starting to think this is Mykel Williams. It's going to piss some people off for sure, but people are saying Mykel's going to go way higher. And yes, I will be having a video that is a final mock draft. So I will be predicting what exactly happens based on what I'm thinking, and we'll see how accurate I am. Technically, I'm about 85% accurate as of last year. So hopefully that is the case again in terms of whether it's the position or the player. Or talking about the guys actually going in the first round. So it gives you guys, it's on par with Mel Kiper as of last year. The years before, not so much, but I would say I took a little bit of a bigger step last year and even more so this year. Number 9, the Saints go to Shedeur Sanders. I'm starting to think this is not going to happen. To be fair, I've been thinking that Shedeur to New Orleans is not going to happen. It's just, I don't think that NFL views him that highly. I just don't. And the NFL is set in their ways. I don't know how much nepotism can play into this, but regardless, I don't think Kellen Moore is going to be spending his first pick at number 9 on a quarterback. At number 10, the Bears go Mykel Williams. I'm starting to think this is a very realistic move as well. I'm trying to say because, Peter Schrager is the one who said, okay, Mykel Williams and Colston Loveland are going higher than what mock drafts are saying. Mykel fits Dennis Allen to a T. Makes sense. Maybe because you ended up seeing a lot of offensive moves in the offseason, the first round pick is going to be like Mykel for again Dennis Allen. And then in round 2, that's where Ben Johnson can end up, manipulating those picks. Mykel Williams, I really do think he has a bright future in the NFL. People give him a little bit too much hate. He's going to be a star, especially if he goes to Dennis Allen, in my opinion. So we'll leave it there. Let's see how the rest of the mock draft goes before we actually say whether something's great or not. Niners go Kelvin Banks at number 11. It's a pick I think is perfectly fine. You put him at guard, long-term tackle. Makes sense. Number 12, Cowboys go Tet. Again, it adds up. The logic is there. The question is, when is the NFL going to be illogical? That's going to be what's exciting to see on Thursday. Dolphins go Jahdae Barron at 13. I just don't think Jahdae comes close to the coverage physicality that Jalen Ramsey has. I don't think he's a fit. But if you end up making it work, you make it work. I think this is going to be where a team tries to jump the Colts for Colston Loveland if we are saying that he's going to go higher than what the mocks say. At the same time, could be some people trying to throw some smoke out there. At 14, Colts go Tyler Warren. Very possible for him to go much higher than this. I mean, it could be as high as 6 if they trade away Michael Mayer. Be intriguing to see how that happens, but Tyler Warren, nonetheless, a great player and a great fit there for Indy. 15, the Falcons go Mike Green. And Mike Green, if the off-field really does check out, NFL PIs are going to be better than we have. If he goes this high, that means the NFL PIs are comfortable with it. Does that mean that they're right? No, but it just means they're more informed. And hopefully the more informed shows that, the past is in the past. So Mike Green goes to the Falcons at 15. If everything checks out, he's a very good fit there. At number 16, you got the Cardinals going Will Johnson. That's my dream pick for the Cardinals in the first. Fingers crossed y'all can get him there. At 17, the Bengals go Derek Harmon. There's some questions as to his medicals right now that are starting to float around. I don't know how realistic those are. I am not tapped into inside sources to that degree, nor if I were, would I be trying to poke and prod for the medicals part, because that is very secretive inside the NFL. I do know guys who are in scouting departments, but I'm not the one who pokes and prods. Let's just say, still building up those connections before we could do something like that. But regardless, other people who do have those connections are starting to talk about it. I could see him slipping to the second round if that's the case. The talent, undisputed. He's been good since his redshirt freshman year. At number 18, you got the Seahawks going Matt Golden. They need wide receiver on the boundary, man. Cooper Kupp is not necessarily the guy that you really want as your wide receiver 2. Given your wide receiver 1 being Jackson Smith and Jigba, it feels very, very, very limited in terms of what you are going to be able to do with those 2 players as your primary options. Matt Golden allows you to expand your playbook to a way that not many other players in this class could, but let's see how they address the rest of the draft. Buccaneers go Jod Campbell at 19. The question is, how much is that shoulder surgery going to affect his stock? Nakobe Dean slipped to the 3rd, but we don't necessarily know what NFL teams thought of him outside of the shoulder concern. He could end up slipping to the late 1st. And then we got the Broncos going Omarion Hampton at 20. I think Omarion Hampton's a fantastic running back. To me, he is my RB1, but for differing reasons than what you might think, Ashton Genty literally is everything that you could probably want from running back minus the bulk security. Omarion Hampton, he's grown more than Genty has. Genty's just been freaking phenomenal since the beginning. So, love them both. Not going to try to uplift one to push down another. They're both amazing players, and the Broncos get themselves a damn good player. At number 20. 21, we have the Steelers going Jackson Dart. That's why I took my little pause there. I'm not a big fan of Jackson Dart. And shout out to Jordan Reid. He's somebody who I've been able to talk to many times now, and he's a great guy. So shout out to him. classy dude, really nice, like family man for sure. Doesn't seem to be the rowdy type, but maybe one of these days, if we continue getting closer and closer with JR, we could end up bringing him on. That'd be super fun. But regardless, this is not going to get me any closer to that because it ruffles my feathers to say the least. I would lose my shit if Jackson Dart was a Pittsburgh Steeler at the 21st overall pick. My hot take is that Shedeur Sanders and Jackson Dart are very similar to what we saw in Matt Corral, Malik Willis. Not saying that those are comps. I'm saying in terms of that draft, we thought they were going to be pretty much first round players. Same thing with Sam Howell, and they end up slipping noticeably more. The NFL, if you are not taken in the first, there's a good chance that you are sliding a notable amount. And Jackson Dart, in my opinion, same thing with Shedeur Sanders. I had a higher grade on Will Levis. To be fair, I think Will Levis was almost tied with Shedeur Sanders. So let's not say it's that insane of a discrepancy. But I would say that, if the NFL was worried about him, Will Levis coming in, there are some issues that you got to ask about the other two. So I'll just put that out there. Not saying, again, no comps there, but I'm saying there is going to be a chance that we end up continuing to push the quarterbacks way too high and they end up falling a noticeably larger amount. And maybe in the third round we could talk about it, but I just don't really think that's the case. Chargers go Colston Loveland at 22. I mean, again, we'll see how much the shoulder health concern is going to impact his stock. I'd be surprised if it ends up boosting him above this, but apparently, according to Peter Schrager, that's the case. And Peter Schrager, he's not an analyst. He is somebody who is insanely connected, the way kind of like almost the exact opposite of me. I love P. Schrags, great guy. Crazy that ESPN was able to land him, but NFL Network. Just gonna be honest, that Good Morning Football crew losing like Kay Adams, losing Peter Schrager. Let's just say should have probably prioritized your biggest assets. Just going to put that out there. But this is not to crap on NFL Network. We love them. We actually used to do a little bit of work for the NFL Network. But that's a story time for another time. Green Bay Packers go Shedeur Stewart here at pick number 23. Shedeur, it makes a lot of sense because of the fact that this is very on par for what Green Bay likes to do. He's actually going to be an early down run defender who has the potential to develop into a great pass rusher. I think that I'm much lower on Shedeur than the majority of people. However, I think he is still going to work. It's just going to be a lot more time, and you need to be in an organization that has time. I don't know if the Packers necessarily have the time to grow Shedeur Stewart. I'd want him to go to a team like the Browns, for example, that you have bona fide production and consistency, and you can wait while Shedeur ends up building said effectiveness and consistency. Don't really know if Green Bay's the spot for it, but honestly, far from the worst spot. Nicky Manwari goes to the Vikings at 24. Highly developmental safety who is going to be fantastic if you use him like a free safety. He is still a big hitter. He's a great open field tackler, but versus the run, I do have my concerns in terms of his processing and his pursuit angles. That's something you can definitely grow with, and so I'd be excited to see him do so. But you have Harrison Smith, who has 1 year to help Nicky Manwari turn the ship around in terms of that aspect. In terms of coverage, man, Nicky Manwari is fantastic. I don't think he gets enough credit for that. Number 25, the Texans go Tyler Booker. I'd be going after someone who has tackle flexibility more than anything, so Josh Simmons is my guy, but I heard some positive news about that as well in terms of his health status. A lot of people are very positive about it. So fingers crossed that's the case. Tyler Booker is just the highest floor guard in the class. Like, you're getting a damn good player. To a lot of people, that's going to be underwhelming, but it sure as hell is going to be hard for me to see Tyler Booker being a bust. And that's a really good spot to be if you're a Texans fan and are just wanting some success. It just depends on how the rest of the draft goes. At 26, you got the Rams going Malachi Starks. Malachi Starks is BPA. Not going to say it's a horrible idea. You got Cam Kitchens, Malachi Starks there for the long haul. Again, maybe there's some more impact moves, but roster building requires you to take great players. And Malachi Starks is a great player. I think that it would be intriguing to see that happen. I haven't done it myself, but, if they do it, not going to be against it. Ravens go Kenneth Grant at number 27. My problem is they have someone who is an absolute gold mine as a nose tackle, in my opinion, Travis Jones. and they haven't even fully unlocked him yet. Kenneth Grant has a lot more work that needs to be done, but he also is a player who I think might end up being better than Travis Jones. The problem is, you look at fits. I don't know if the Ravens are the right spot for Kenneth Grant to become his best self. I'd prefer for Eric DeCosta to be looking elsewhere, maybe Donovan Ezraku, something that's a little bit more high floor to give you a better chance when playoffs come, when push comes to shove in the playoffs. I don't think Kenneth Grant's going to be ready for a little bit. 28, you got the Lions going Gray Zabel. You guys know what I think of Gray Zabel. I think he's fantastic. So I'll leave that there. Gray Zabel, I mean, just such a good player, best player at the Senior Bowl, and the Lions could absolutely use him. Ezraku goes to the Commanders at 29, kind of a stab in the heart of the Eagles fans. This is a live reaction as well. He's just high floor player. My thing is, actually, I almost don't like the fit to the Commanders solely because I trust Dan Quinn to maximize his edge rushers. Donovan is not a maximized edge rusher. He's not someone who has a lot of ceiling to maximize. He is someone who's going to come in as an early contributor, which might end up being really successful for the Commanders. But I always say stick to your strengths. I'd be taking swings on the higher upside edge rushers rather than the higher floor. But that's just me. I don't think this is a bad move by any stretch, but I just think, hey, this is a situation where you might not need to prioritize Ezraku over maybe taking a shot on, this is someone you draft as your second edge that you draft, but Quay Robinson down the line who has a lot more potential, or maybe just get both of them. Who knows? 4th round, get Quay, even though Commanders don't have enough picks for that. But I'm just saying the general idea is you don't need to go overwhelmingly high for a position that I think you can end up making a lot of good value with. And then at number 30, you got the Bills going Trey Amos. Trey Amos is such a good fit to the Bills. I mean, he's good. He's good. That's all I can say. Definitely worth the shot. The Bills getting some extra boundary corner help outside of Christian Benford would be fantastic. At number 31, you got the Chiefs going Josh Simmons. He's a great player, especially if the health checks out. This is worth the shot, and I don't think it's all lost if Jalen Moore is great. You end up actually kicking Josh Simmons the guard, and I think you're going to be spot on. Eagles go Walter Nolan at 32, some off-the-field concerns, but this is literally an A-plus fit to replace Milton Williams at a much cheaper cost. I fully support it. At number 33, Jalen Milroe goes to Cleveland Browns. Of course, there is that offensive coordinator connection to Jalen Milroe where Tommy Rees ended up actually making the most out of Milroe. I love the fit. Maybe not at 33, but I really could see it end up working out if that is the case. At 34, the Giants go Josh Connerly. I think that the reason people stopped loving Josh Connerly is that one rep versus Mike Green in the Senior Bowl. But people don't show the next rep at right tackle that Josh Connerly took versus Mike Green. He actually won the rep and did a good job at it. First off, we all have slip-ups. Josh Connerly just had a really bad one. So I will just say this. Josh Connerly is still number 14th overall on my board. I think his anchor could be a little bit of an issue off the bat, but I think his re-anchor is fantastic. I don't dislike this at all for the Giants. And again, he probably needs a little bit more time to grow at right tackle, which scares me because, let's be honest, you kind of need something that's a little higher floor. I'd prefer to go after the Boston College product, maybe in the 3rd round, because you guys could probably end up pulling that off with Ozzie Trapilo, but sometimes just go best player available. There's a chance that Josh Connerly really can succeed there at right tackle. Worst case scenario, you get yourself a high-end guard. Number 35, you got the Titans going Luther Burden. You've addressed the offensive line, and now you can end up going for the weaponry. I don't think that's a bad idea at all. At number 36, the Jaguars go Emeka Egbuka, high-end receiver, just, consistent. I don't like the idea. Well, to be fair, Egbuka has some boundary experience to where you can still use Brian Thomas in the slot from time to time. You're just going after a high-end player, and that is literally on brand with what Gladstone, I think, would be doing. 37, the Raiders go Max Harrison. This is very, very possible. Really good athlete. Boundary corner for a situation with the Raiders that is not good. It is a very, very bad corner crew. And so this early 2nd round, I could see this happening. Let's see where Judkins and Henderson go. 38, you got the Patriots going Donovan Jackson. The fact is, he is not solely a guard. I think he end up working out as their future at left tackle if they need to. However, it's funny because you drafted a left tackle at 4, and now you drafted a left guard here at 38, there is a universe where Donovan Jackson ends up being the tackle and Will Campbell ends up being the guard. That'd be really intriguing, but both would be fantastic athletes there on the left side of the offensive line. I'm not going to crap on somebody like Jordan for fixing up an offensive line that's been in need of it. I would just say there's some weapons there. Might be more intrigued about that. 39, you got the Bears going Trey Henderson here. Like I was talking about, DA might have the first round pick. And then you look at polls, he might have ended up working with Ben for the offseason and then probably also giving Ben his options for round number 2. Trey Henderson will be that Jahmyr Gibbs role, even though technically you'd be wanting DeAndre Swift to work out that way. I mean, Ben didn't see that way when DeAndre was in Detroit. So I'm sure that he's not necessarily fully sold on the capabilities of DeAndre Swift if Trey Henderson is there. Number 40, the Saints goes Savone Ravel Jr. I mean, this makes a lot of sense. Outside of Kool-Aid McKinstry on the boundary, you are struggling, which is crazy to say because you were then 3 corner ones essentially. Well, I mean, question about when Marshawn Lattimore was in his best health. You had 3 guys who could be playing as starting corners. Right now, I believe you have 1 on the boundary, and that's Kool-Aid. Savone Ravel would make a lot of sense if he can be healthy himself. 41, the Bears go Darius Alexander. Intriguing to see a full defensive line rebuild, but I mean, if you're making a push early, which this very well might be, Michael Williams, Darius Alexander could end up being a really good defensive front addition duo that could end up really vaulting you towards success. And I mean, DA is going to love this, Dennis Allen. At number 42, you got the Jets going Tyleik Williams. I prefer to get Tyleik over Darius solely because, well, 1, age, but 2, body type. Darius is super flexible, though. I'm not going to crap on Darius Alexander at all. He's someone who I have in my top 40. So both these are amazing picks. The Jets get my dream 1-2. Niners go James Pierce Jr. at 43. If you feel comfortable with the off-field stuff and the personality concerns, there's not a better talent in the draft. He was the number 2 talent in the draft for me before all this stuff came out. So, I mean, outside of Will Johnson when healthy for me, there was nothing better in this draft than James Pierce. At 44, the Cowboys go Quinshon Judkins, so it kind of sucks to not be able to see the Quinshon go to the Raiders, but I do think this is very realistic. Quinshon's just a high carry back who is very consistent, who could also work in a committee, which is crazy. Like, I feel like he could be a 3-down back and a committee back. So I love that flexibility to where he can mold for every single offensive system. He's smart, he's powerful, he's explosive, and he even tested out better than I expected. The Cowboys, I think, would be very happy getting a completely retooled offensive weapon group there with Judkins as well as McMillan. Colts then go Carson Schwezinger at 45. I think this is very realistic. It fits the athletic profile you're looking for and the coverage profile that you can be dreaming of, especially in your division. Like, Cam Ward is someone who will be making mistakes. You need someone with the range and ball skills that Carson Schwezinger has. Also went to my high school, so shout out Oaks Christian there. But I do think linebacker's a big issue. He has the range, he has the potential, and this is a team that needs some extra linebacker help. Even though I say you can wait till day 3, I understand if you don't want to. At 46, the Falcons go Azareye'h Thomas. I think this is a great move. He is a big physical boundary corner. When used properly, he's a superstar. He's worth a top 15 pick. The problem is he's run into this offseason where he's shown some issues, like in terms of accelerating out of a cut, even accelerating in general. He has his issues. So a team that could utilize his strengths properly, like Florida State did, you're getting a top 15 player here at 46. And for a team with so few picks as the Falcons, I think that is the dream. At 47, you got the Cardinals going Ariante Ursary. He even took some right tackle reps at the Senior Bowl. I think this is a smart move because he could also fit in at left guard early on because he's still growing and developing. But I really love the future potential there for Ursary. If you end up getting Will Johnson and Ursary, those are 2 players who have very, very big steal potentials for their pick. Dolphins go Jonas Savaiinaea at 48. I perfectly respect this. A lot of people love the fit. I'm perfectly happy with the idea because he has every position in the offensive line versatility. Now, at 48, you want them to be great at all those positions, not necessarily being able to play all those positions. But I do think Jonas Savaiinaea as a tackle is like a round of 4 player. And then if he kicks to the guard spot, I think he's a bit more consistent to where you could talk about him in that 3rd to 2nd territory. So I understand for a team like the Dolphins that could absolutely use like Jonas Savaiinaea in maybe a year at left tackle if Patrick Paul doesn't work out, and at worst you use him at guard, it's a good spot to be in. So I understand. even if I don't fully agree. Cincinnati Bengals go Landon Jackson at 49. I don't know if you necessarily need to go after Landon Jackson for Al Golden's defense, but Landon Jackson does have some crazy athleticism for his build. I understand that certain teams will be valuing that more than others. 50, the Seahawks go Mason Taylor. I think tight end is a very underrated need for the Seahawks. I prefer to see them focus on offensive line. At 51, you got the Broncos going Jaden Higgins. Jaden Higgins is a big X. I love him. Apparently, he didn't get a very good interview score. Somebody did that. I don't understand how you get access to interviews like that. I'll just be completely honest. I think there's a little bit of some fabrication in there, but we'll see. Jaden Higgins, though, he was in that bottom quartile for the small sample size that was there. I don't know. I never got to talk to Jaden Higgins. Wish I did. I mean, I've been a super fan of Jaden Higgins. He is now my wide receiver too, but he's someone who could be a big X, who is super fluid, super strong. And I mean, he was damn good even when playing injured. At 52, the Seahawks go Marcus Bowe. Okay, there we go. So you got Marcus Bowe, Matt Golden, and Taylor. So I really do think that a recouped offense like that is a good place to be. I'd prefer to go after Belton and Bowe, over Mason Taylor. I prefer to maybe go after Ferguson there in the third if you can. At 53, you got the Buccaneers going Ben Morrison. Fantastic. Without the hip injury, this guy's a top 10 player for me. At 54, you got the Packers going Alec Iomaner, or Mr. Broshmo ended up fucking me up for the entire draft season. I don't know how to pronounce this guy's name properly, but I think it's Ayumanor. There we go. I mean, I used to say it, I think, like that as well, but I mean, it's the last time I listened to Mr. Schmo on this crap. But regardless, Elick is a very, very good receiver. I would think that he'd be a good fit in Green Bay, especially if he can stay healthy. At number 55, the Chargers go Alfred Collins. They lost Poona Ford. Alfred Collins could be someone who could play that nose spot, but he's 332, but he looks like he's 232. He's built of pure muscle. There's not Tavondre Sweat looked like a freaking wall of meat. Alfred is, he weighed in. It's not like this guy's fabricating his size. The guy's just pure muscle, which is a good thing. But I will say if you want a space eater, maybe not so much. 56, the Bills go TJ Sanders. Love the gap penetration. Very underrated player. He didn't surprise me in Mobile, but he definitely surprises on tape. Some guys are just not built for one-on-one reps in the Mobile, but TJ Sanders I still think is a day 2 pick for sure. Panthers go Jalen Noel at 57. Heard he has some very good interview remarks, and I think that he fits as a complement to the receiving core they are building there with the young guys. So very good move. Very good move in my opinion. 58, the Texans go Trey Harris. You need to have some extra firepower in that receiving core. Trey Harris with the potential injury questions, I don't think is going to be very much. I think that you're going to value injury a little bit more for the Texans than anything. I'd be going after Besh if I could, but again, you see my board. You see what I think of Jack Besh. Ravens go Nick Gordon at 59. This Eric DeCosta move right here. Nick Gordon's going to be extremely valuable and an instant impact for you. At number 60, you got JT Tuimoloau to the Lions. JT is so good. This is just such a good spot for him to go as well. It doesn't have to be the one. Going to be a certified 2 there, which is why I like Shamar Stewart as well, because you got Hutchinson coming off with instant production. Knock on wood, of course. He had, coming off an injury. That really does suck, but it is what it is. 61, you got the Commanders going Darian Porter. Darian Porter, I love this move. Just a win now move. So I guess you are kind of seeing that the Commanders doing everything they can to keep themselves in contention. Darian Porter, even though he's a little bit older, has that day 1 readiness as a former receiver as well to be able to make an impact, especially with errant passes. 62, the Bills go Xavier Watts. Interceptions galore, really solid safety. I'm a bit lower on him, but I still think that the Bills are a great location for him to be. The Chiefs go Jordan Burch at 63, very much a spagged defensive lineman. I love it. He can kick even to the inside, but I love him on the edge. I think that edge is honestly a little bit lacking there. So Jordan Burch, I think, is a great elevation to that talent. 64, the Eagles go Kevin Winston Jr. You have time for him to get back to full strength as well. It's a very, very good fit. 65, the Giants go Tyler Shuck. It's a great way to be able to get a day 1 impact. Some teams apparently have him as QB1, which to me screams that these quarterbacks are going to fall because Shuck is a round 3 quarterback. And just going to put that out there. But regardless, 66, the Chiefs go Princey Umanmielen. I mean, going after 2 edges is a little bit intriguing. I know he's Jordan Burch is listed as a defensive interior, and I assume that's gonna be to replace Tershawn Wharton, and then you end up getting your edge rusher here. Umami Ellen is almost the same size, by the way. You have technically Burch at 279. He tested out 267 at the combine, but Umami Ellen's at 264. Like, this guy's also pretty damn big. For what he was playing at Florida, I think which was in, like, 250 range, it's intriguing to see him continue to add weight, but building up the defensive fronts are never, it's not a bad idea by any way, shape, or form. At number 67, the Browns go Elijah Arroyo. Last time they took a tight end out of Miami, it worked out. Arroyo very well could be the same thing. Knock on wood, the knee is good. Raiders go Josh Farmer at number 68. Getting a good defensive interior, high ceiling. I just don't think that Josh is worth the 68th pick. I hate to say it, but getting some extra competition there with Butler and Wilkins, never a bad idea. 69, you got the Patriots going Kyle Williams. Kyle Williams is just a little bit smaller. I'd prefer someone who has a little bit more boundary experience and is built to be a boundary receiver. Of course, I'm the highest guy I know on Kyle Williams. He's a top 50 player on my board. I mean, I still have to get a couple guys in here, but Kyle Williams is number 45 on my board. Yes, this is pretty much fully up to date. However, still moving some guys around. So TBD on that. I will be releasing a full top 100 absolutely free for you guys to use, to scroll, and to have fun. So keep that in mind as well. I want to be able to give that to you guys. Maybe it's a top 150 TBD. But if you want more than that, feel free to DM me. I have other stuff that is loaded up and ready, but this year I was working on building the foundation for more premium content for you guys to have at any time. But for me, there's certain positions where I wish I got a little bit deeper into them. Of course, I have a life outside of this, including a day job, but that is not an excuse. Regardless, I'm not going to charge you for something that I don't think is complete. That's why I haven't been posting it out there. And for positions like linebacker, I have a good amount studied, but I can't end up giving you a comprehensive look at that. Anyways, feel free to message me about it if you guys are still interested. Number 7, you got the Jaguars going Noel Williams. Boundary corner is super duper key for the Jaguars to approach, and Noel Williams could end up working very well. This is another system I could see him having success in as the understudy to Tyson Campbell. I just don't think he's someone who I want to start right away. New Orleans Saints go Jack Sawyer at 71. Again, building that floor. Jack Sawyer is a little bit underwhelming, but he's just damn good. He's built to be a solid edge 3 in the NFL. And at 71, that is something that, especially in New Orleans, you are in need of. 72, you got the Bears going Andrew Makuba. You need to get some extra safety help. I respect this move. We'll leave it there. I don't have him as high, but I do think it's a solid idea. 73, you got the Jets going Terrence Ferguson. This is the dream first 3 rounds for the Jets. I give that an A+. Swinson, friend of the show, Braden Swinson goes to the Carolina Panthers at 74. I think it's fantastic. If you do want to watch his interview, feel free to go check out Matt Miller's 7-round Mock the Mock, where I end up attaching that at the end. 75, you got the Niners going Caleb Johnson, heavy power back, young, prove that he can end up being a bell cow, but honestly, a nice little committee back there with CMC to keep him healthy. Would be intriguing to see if San Francisco goes this way. 76, you got the Cowboys going Shamar Turner. I don't really see the vision for the role necessarily. Osa Digizua got re-signed. I'd prefer to get some beef on the interior, and I don't really think the value is necessarily great for the beef at the moment. So I would say Shamar Turner, a little bit too much of a development curve for me to take for him. New England Patriots go Savion Williams at 77. There you go. You got a little bit of a bigger guy, but Savion is just pretty much after the catch guy for me. I'm not a huge fan of him at all. But again, feel free to check out my wide receiver video that was pre-combine for that. I ended up explaining my current thoughts on him because none of it changed. 78, we got the Cardinals going Wyatt Milam. Love the value there. I mean, you could have Milam be that early down starter on left guard and then have Ursery be the guy to grow into the right tackle role. I don't mind it. Wyatt Milam's just a damn good player. I never think that going offensive line is a bad idea if the value is right. Speaking of an absolute savage, we got Anthony Belton here, who I heard from some people who I love and trust that they think of him as good as Tyler Booker. I'm not there, and I am a super big fan of Anthony Belton. Of course, I'm also a huge fan of Tyler Booker. And funnily enough, don't even have to worry about it because you got both. Belton does have that long-term tackle potential. I do worry about him a little bit there at tackle in the early like early part of his career, but you do have some short-term fills there, and Anthony Belt might be the long run. 80, you got the Colts going Ozzie Trapilo. Fantastic move. Right tackle is very, very at risk with Braden Smith's mental health. Ozzie Trapilo, well worth it. 81, the Bengals go Tate Ratledge. Incredible value, high floor guard for a team that needs to go for that high floor. That guard group is not good. 82, you got the Seahawks going Jared Wilson. Fits the MO. I mean, you fix the interior offensive line with 2 moves right there. I would just still want someone to be that potential for right tackle. Marcus Bowe with 32-inch arms. As much as I love our friend of the show, I would be a little bit worried. And I mean, I still think Jared Wilson's a fantastic move. Maybe you guys end up stealing a right tackle down the board. At 83, you got the Steelers going Jamari Caldwell. So, I mean, looking at what we've done, Jackson Dart, Jamari Caldwell, I think both are a little bit early, but Jamari would be a good Pittsburgh Steeler. So I'm perfectly fine with that, even though I don't have Jamari graded this way. He's one of those players that I believe in more than the grade necessarily suggests. Buccaneers go Femi Oladejo at 84, and I love this so much because you have a pretty much glorified DPR that you guys signed with, not Shaq Barrett, I'm tripping balls, Hassan Reddick. And Femi is an early down version of that needs to grow as a pass rusher. I personally think that could end up working out very, very, very well. High character player. Some people are saying he could be going as high as 32. So I don't know if he gets here. Demetrius Knight goes to the Broncos at 85. High floor linebacker for a team that kind of needs a high floor linebacker. I mean, I think that the Broncos are killing it. 86, you got the Chargers going Jalen Royals. Jalen Royals is a good player. Has after the catch potential, deep threat ability, like really good player, really good value. Don't mind this for the Chargers. 87, you got the Packers going Jacob Parrish. I mean, you're, again, 5'3" and an attitude type shit. That's just no height in this corner core. But, and talk about the attitude part as well, Jair Alexander, Jacob Parrish, these guys are nasty. And I like that. I like that a lot. Like size to them, height doesn't matter. You saw, I was like, I'm not going to go into a pause moment right there. But like a high differential doesn't matter to guys like Jacob Parrish, Jair Alexander. They're going to be able to punish regardless. And big fan of Parrish. I mean, I said in a tweet that he identifies as Velcro. It's true. I mean, he sticks to players on certain plays. But we'll see what happens if he ends up going to the NFL and goes to a spot where, you know, we're really going to see some big high differentials. Number 88, you got the Jaguars going Dylan Sampson. This is much more on par with what I think they'll be looking at, but I do think DJ Giddens will go above Dylan Sampson, who's more of a home run hitter. DJ is going to be a little bit more of that explosive one cut back that has that home run potential. I'm just not a big Dylan Sampson guy. That's just me, but I digress. Still a good move there. Devin Neal, shout out to one of my favorite backs in the class going to the Texans at 89. He's not going to go on day 2, but he's just such a good running back. He's everything but the athlete that you want. And that's going to be a really good day 3 pick for the Texans especially. Number 90, you got the Rams going Jack Besh. I mean, you see what I think. I have Jack Besh as wide receiver 1. Call me crazy, but I mean, I know I am. I'm just going to say I need to be honest with myself and with y'all, because if I look at Jack Besh and I see him as the best receiver in the class and I cower and I tell you, oh, Jack Besh is like the 5th best receiver in the class, and like, you know, you show your cards a little bit, it's like, oh man, I mean, he could be the best, then sure. I mean, I can end up mitigating my issues, my risk, and then, you know, we'll see what happens there. But I'll never truly be able to like show you, I'll never be able to truly talk to you guys from a stance of like what I actually believe. And that's a cowardly thing to do. And we have a lot of cowards in the sports industry. And if I end up being wrong about Jack Besh, I was 100% honest, which I am proud of. And I have the perfect ability to be able to go back and understand why I was wrong and be better the next time around. So I hope I build your guys' trust doing that. And I hope that for those of y'all who want to get into this industry, or those of y'all who are already in it and are just building your ground, or maybe even built your ground and you'll agree with this, continue to be completely honest. Do not apologize for having shit takes, because if you have shit takes that are honest and you learn from them, they reduce over time and you become better and better and better. Fingers crossed, we end up consistently getting better and better and better at a faster rate than maybe some others have in this industry. But, you know, I still think that if I'm right about Jack Besh, I'm super happy. If I'm wrong about him, let's understand why the hell I was. Maybe I need to reweight some things. But Jack Bech to me, as an SMU alum, I hate TCU. I think he's the best receiver in the class and one of the best players in the class. And the Rams would be blessed to have him on their squad. Number 91, the Ravens go Emory Jones. You get instant guard support, tackle, tackle redundancy there as well for in case injuries do occur. 92, you got Seahawks going Ty Robinson. A lot of people like Ty Robinson more than I do. I just think he's way undersized. He's a fun player to watch, but he's a straight line undersized defensive interior. I do have some issues with that. 93, you got the Saints going Torrey Horton. Torrey Horton, pre-knee injury, makes sense. Post-knee injury, I would say I'd push him a little bit more into early day 3. DJ Giddens goes to the Browns. Really good running back there from Kansas State. Someone who I ended up saying a dream fit was McDonald's, ended up rewatching his tape for a couple of the other games. And this is something I also challenge for you guys. Like, admit when you're wrong early and end up understanding why you were. Sometimes you're just watching tape and you get tired. Maybe you're not having a good day. And when you see the consensus is like drastically outside of where your mind is at, go back and rewatch it. And hopefully you don't have a shitty day again before it, but there's a chance that you end up seeing it differently. For me, that's what I had with DJ Giddens. He ended up being a top 100 player for me, and I think he'd be a good selection there for the Browns. At number 95, you got the Chiefs going RJ Harvey. And RJ Harvey's fun. He's explosive. Like, he's a high IQ back. I do think he's a little bit capped in terms of the top speed, but the explosiveness is awesome. I would love to see him there in KC. At 96, the Eagles go Charles Grant. Very good developmental tackle. I mean, I don't love him for the talent he has, but I think that in Stout U, this is going to end up being a very successful venture. And if not, it's a third-round pick. Whoop-de-fucking-do. 97, the Vikings go Omar Norman Lott. Heard there's some questions about his knee, but the potential there is through the roof. Really good player. And where is he at? He's at number 30 on my board. I mean, someone who I have a lot of faith in. Technically, he's tied with Walter Nolan and Darius Alexander, so call him number 34 for all you will. Dolphins go Deion Walker at number 98. I don't think there's just a chance that he goes on day 2, but certain teams like to take shots on players, and Deion Walker was dealing with some back issues this year, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe that's the reason why he just stood straight up. Fingers crossed he ends up being better in the NFL. Don't know why he came out, but it is what it is. 99, you got the Giants going Damian Martinez. Powerful, good vision, good explosiveness. Garbage blocker, in my opinion, but would be a fun compliment there with Tyrone Tracy. Number 100, Niners go one of my favorite people I ever got to meet, and that is CJ West. Good defensive interior, explosive, great build at about 6'2", 320, and just high floor, high character. That's kind of what you're looking for at 100. 101, the Rams go Chase Lunt, right tackle at UConn. I think this is a very good understudy for Rob Havenstein. I really, really like the fit. Jonas Sinker goes to the Lions at 102. Just like their secondary needed to get so much better because their safety core sucks. Not. This is really good value for a very, very good player there. Now, round number 4, let's kick this off. Titans go Elijah Roberts. Interesting edge to have on this team. I think there are some better edges like Kyle Kennard that I think would fit better, but shout out to my boy Elijah from SMU, pony up. Number 104, we got the Cleveland Browns going tackle Jalen Travis. Really good arm length, flexibility, left and right tackle. Could see this one ending up working out well. New York Giants then go wide receiver Ty Felton at number 105. He's a nifty receiver. He's been getting a lot of hate for no reason, in my opinion. He's somebody who is worth about pick 105. I think it's right on the money. Number 106, the Patriots go Kyle Kennard. Just mentioned him, edge rusher out of South Carolina. This is just really, really good value for a player who should be a bona fide day 2 pick, which I still think he will be. Jaguars go safety Billy Bowman at 107. He's a fun player. I ended up dropping a defensive backs video. I know rankings videos don't do well, which is why I'm mentioning the idea of letting you guys see like my board behind the scenes, because it's like the amount of time that I spent on that video for it to generate at $7, and then you guys can end up just having quick reference, probably going to be a little bit better, but I digress. That video is out for you guys to study. He does have the shortest arms of a DB, I think, in the combine history, but that hasn't really seemed to be too much of a problem outside of the tackle percentage, which I honestly think form could matter almost arguably as much as arm length. Vegas then ends up going after linebacker Danny Stutzman. To me, he's linebacker 3 in the class. Fantastic value at 108. 109, you got the Bills going defensive interior / fullback JJ Peggies. He had 7 rushing touchdowns the past year, hence why I call him a fullback as well. He's fun. He's good. I don't think he's worth number 109 though. I have a defensive interior. Well, I don't know if JJ Pegues was on that, so I'll just describe it really quickly. He's very exciting. He plays with a lot of finesse, but he has the body for a lot of power. And he doesn't have the athleticism to execute the finesse in the NFL level. That's the problem. It's like he's the finesse defensive interior in a power body, but doesn't have the power and doesn't have the athleticism for the finesse. It's just a weird spot to be in. But it's also why he's so fun as a fullback, because you can tell there's something to him that's not just like he's a good guy. I really like JJ Pegues. 110, you got the Jets going Kyle McCord, really good backup to have, who has some starter potential, especially with the question marks around Justin Fields. Panthers go Harold Fannin Jr. at 111. People shit on Harold Fannin. It is what it is. I'm not saying this is what Jordan's doing at all. I'm saying this is a consensus idea. He ends up dominating versus the hardest teams he goes up against. Just because he's not the best straight line athlete on planet Earth doesn't mean he is the worst player on planet Earth. He is very, very good. So I'm going to put my stamp of approval down for Harold Fannin. I think he's going to end up working out, especially if he goes to a team like the Panthers. Number 112, you got the Saints going Logan Brown. He's a right tackle, so I like the vision there. I do worry about the long-term or the short-term returns because I think he has a lot of room to grow. Now just go Quincy Riley, cornerback out of Louisville. I've seen a lot of mock drafts with this, so I almost wonder if people have inside sources on the Niners liking Quincy. I do think it's a good fit. Good boundary corner, older, more experienced, good ball skills. I think he won Defensive Back of the Week in Mobile as well. Panthers go Cam Williams at 114. Definitely with the age/contract situation that Moton can be going into, this is something that you could end up throwing it's pretty much a free pick because freaking Mingo somehow ended up managing to get pick 114 out of it. But Cam Williams, really, really good selection there for the situation the Panthers are in. Number 115, you got the Cardinals going Baron Sorrell. I'd have some issues with that solely because I think Sorrell, talk about a tongue twister, but he's a run defending edge. Not necessarily. I actually have an edge video literally ready to be recorded. So I don't think I'm going to be able to do it. Just the time's not there. It's not fair to you guys as well just to load that in there. I'd rather give you the analysis and a more fun content like this. But regardless, not a very good pass rusher. Not the best athlete on planet Earth. But, he's a really solid run defender. And I don't know if the Cardinals are really in a position at 115 to take kind of a lower ceiling player like that at edge with the amount of guys you have there. Lathan Ransom is at 116 to the Dolphins. Really good defensive back to add to a very depleted defensive back room. Indianapolis Colts go safety/slot Caleb Ransaw. I need to grade. He's like the last guy I have to grade for this class. I'll just put that out there. But tested like a freak. People love him. I'm going to support it. Falcons go Josiah Stewart at 118. Really solid run defender. I don't understand how that's the case, but he's like 6'1" and 240, and the dude is a really good run defender with short arms. I don't know if that's going to work in the NFL, but he uses leverage very well. I think that his pass rush win rate was more so because tackles didn't know how to handle him more than him being a good pass rusher, but good value for the Falcons at 118. 119, the Bengals go Cam Skattebo. I mean, you're getting a heavy carry back there that can complement what you have in Chase Brown really well. I don't mind it at all. 120, the Titans go linebacker Chris Paul Jr. Linebacking course, pretty ass. Really good value there. The Buccaneers get a receiving tight end in Aronde Gadsden. He put on some weight, still looked really fluid. It was very dominant in Dallas at the Shrine Bowl. I think that's a solid move, but maybe I'd have it a little bit later. Broncos go defensive interior with Vernon Broughton at 122. Not the biggest Vernon Broughton guy, but I understand it. That's fine value there. Steelers then go running back Jaden Blue at 123. I'm not a fan of how the Steelers draft is turning out. I got to be honest. Jaden Blue, issues with fumbling, but he's an explosive player. Green Bay Packers go after former tackle and projected guard in Caleb Rogers. Right on par with what the Packers look for. Incredible blocking reps and athleticism for the run game. We'll see if it ends up coming out to being something that's worth taking a shot on in the long run. Chargers go running back Trevor Etienne at 125. Really good compliment to have with Najee Harris. I respect it. Jaguars go Gunnar Helm, tight end out of Texas at 126. This is where, again, you could take a shot on a tight end. I think that they need one. Number 127, the Rams go after defensive back Kobe Bryant. He's a physical player, a guy you really want in that locker room, and a big switch up in terms of the amount of DBs that the Rams are going after, but I don't mind it. Number 128, the Commanders get a home run hitting running back in Baishul Tootin. Don't really think that I think the value's fine. I just don't like the issues with his fumbles, which is why I'm also concerned with Jaden Blue. 129, the Ravens go after a high floor corner and Dorian Strong. I have very similar feelings to him as I did with TJ Tampa. I do think that Dorian Strong is better than TJ Tampa, though. 130, you got the Lions going after linebacker Barrett Carter. I still think the Lions could definitely be continuing to upgrade the linebacking core. Barrett Carter is certainly somebody who could be in that mix. Saints then end up going after the nose tackle Jordan Phillips. He was a little bit underwhelming, but at 131, this is a good addition to a depleted defensive front. 132, you got the Bills going linebacker Smile London. Too early, in my opinion, for linebacker for the Bills. Not a fan of that. Would prefer to be going after maybe some more firepower there at 132. 133, the Chiefs go after guard Miles Frazier. And I mean, that's a really high floor guard pick at 133. Continuing to protect your quarterback is not a bad idea. He'd end up being your backup for probably the next 5 years, 5 plus. 134, the Eagles go after David Walker, edge rusher out of Central Arkansas. Good value for him. Honestly, could end up seeing it working out. We'll see in the long run if it ends up being a good fit for Philly. But there's a lot of rumors about Femi Oladejo. I mentioned it earlier, going at the end of round 1. I think it's probably more of the end of round 2. A lot of guys here, oh, this team loves him, but they love him for the range that they're going. Like, oh, let's just say Femi is projected round 3 or 4. If the Eagles love him, maybe they're at the end of 2, right? And I think that getting a high-end run defender like that is great, but David Walker might be turning 26 this year. That's the big problem with him. Also has some short arms, is a very unique build. Number 135, the Dolphins go after quarterback Quinn Ewers. My problem with Quinn is that he has some injury concerns, and you're putting him to back up an injury-concerned quarterback. I prefer to go after someone like Dylan Gabriel that, even though he is smaller, has shown to be pretty damn durable. 136, the Ravens go after interior offensive lineman Jalen Rivers. I would say cool because, good arm length there, like 35 inches, built to be a guard, has that tackle upside. My big problem is that you just drafted Emory Jones as well. I'd have my concern with getting too many cooks in the kitchen. Too early on, at least, at 136. 137, you got the Seahawks going Zaw Frazier, cornerback out of UTSA. Zaw's a top 100 player for me, and I think he fits perfectly in Seattle. He also has the potential to move to safety if you need him to. 138, you got the Niners going Isaac Tesla. Don't really think they need to get a big vertical slot, so I'm not really a huge fan of that, but he's a good tester, no doubt. Number 139, the Vikings go after defensive back Jordan Hancock. Not a big Jordan Hancock guy myself. Just gotta put that out there. Was not a huge fan of him, but I'll leave that there. Carolina Panthers go Corey Black. Oh, I've heard some good things about Corey Black. One of the few players that I do not have graded in this range. So TBD on that. But I mean, I think Dane Brugler had a 4th round grade on the guy. Just gonna be honest, did not expect for someone like that to get some buzz late on. But I'm going to be honest, probably I need to study him and Ransall, and that's going to be the last guys I studied the class. Dante Thornton Jr. goes at 141 to the Titans. I like the idea of getting some extra juice to pair up with Cam Ward's big playability. He's a very, very fun player to watch. Number 142, you got the Jacksonville Jaguars going after defensive lineman Savion Jones. He's a very intriguing player. I think that I'm forgetting what Brett Coleman ended up comping him to. I think it was a Connor Barwin. I'm not that high on Savion Jones, but at 142, I mean, you're taking a dart throw at a depth player. At 143, the Vegas Raiders pair back up Chip Kelly and Will Howard, getting their backup quarterback from Ohio State. Incredible value, something I wish the Steelers did in the 3rd round rather than going after Jackson Dart in the 1st. Patriots then go running back Rashard Smith at 144. Perfectly fine with this. You get some extra juice and receiving upside, I should say. But Richard was super dominant for SMU this past year. It was great to see him in person. 145, you got the Jets going Xavier Restrepo, and he ran very well for the gauntlet drill and for the majority of his routes. He just sucks in terms of being a vertical threat, but he wouldn't be asked to be a vertical threat. My only problem with this is that I just don't think Justin Fields is the quarterback that can make Xavier Restrepo feel like a really good receiver. It's just not really the archetype of receiver I could see working with them. 146, you got the Panthers going Jordan James. And Jordan James, high floor running back, really good guy to have in that rotation there. I don't mind it too much. 147, the Niners end up going after Cam Jackson, nose tackle out of Florida. A little bit early for him, in my opinion. But again, this class is a lot of beef. Got to go after the beef where you can. 148, you got the Bears going after linebacker Jeffrey Bossa. Not a big Jeffrey Bossa guy, and I was a big guy for him, and he's great in coverage. The problem with Jeffrey Bossa is that he's still a safety at heart. Really good guy, got the green dot, obviously, like he was the leader of that defense for Oregon. But in terms of playing the game as a linebacker, I do not trust him. And I think he's more of a safety than anything. And that's okay. That's perfectly fine to be a box safety rather than a pure linebacker. But I do worry about that at 148. 149, you got the Cowboys going Denzel Burke, especially with the looming contracts that are coming up and the long-term vision for Diggs and such. There is certainly a worthiness of taking, like, there's certainly a value to taking shots at corner. And Denzel Burke at 149 is impeccable. 150, the Dolphins go Dylan Fairchild. I love this. Dylan Fairchild is the best backup guard in the entire class. He has starter potential, but the thing is, you're getting a hit. He's just going to be a damn good backup guard. He's the Trevor Keegan of this class. 151, you got the Colts going Jared Ivey. Tested out horribly. I don't really think that he fits the Colts all that well because of the athleticism. But in terms of the technique, I do think it's very similar to what some of the advantages were of Leatu Latu over the edge rushers that he was selected. Maybe that will go into that process as well. 152, you got the Cardinals going Ty Hamilton, defensive interior out of the Ohio State University. Really early for Ty Hamilton, in my opinion, but I like the vision there of getting a punchy defensive interior for a team that was looking to sign Milton Williams in the offseason. Cincinnati Bengals at 153 go after defensive back Zy Alexander. Good build, poor testing. His poor testing, unfortunately, shows on the field. I think he's more of a safety than a cornerback, but the Bengals could always use more and more in the defensive back room. 154, the Giants go Warren Brinson out of Georgia. A little bit early for Brinson, but he was a really fun player to watch in Dallas at the Shrine Bowl. He was kind of a nightmare here. Maybe this could end up working out. Defensive interior is something that the Giants need to focus on. Sticking with the defensive interiors, Jay Toya goes to the Miami Dolphins. Did not see enough out of Jay for me to be confident with him this early. The Steelers then end up sticking in Pennsylvania, going to Penn State's safety Jalen Reid. 156, it's solid value. He's my safety 11. 157, you got the Buccaneers going defensive interior Aeneas Peebles. I literally said it. My comp for him was on sale, Kalijah Cansey. Great player to back up. 158, you got the Chargers going after guard, technically slash center in this case, Luke Kandra. He fits hand and glove, but he is super versatile based on the system they ran in Cincinnati, a good mix of zone and gap plays. 159, you get the Packers going Chim DK, wide receiver out of Florida. Continue loading up because a lot of contracts are coming up. You got to continue getting talent in there so you don't have to continue paying talent unnecessarily. 160, you got the Niners going Jack Kaiser, linebacker out of Notre Dame. Just really good linebacker. To me, my linebacker too. Just going to put that out there. Of course, I don't necessarily have Jahad Campbell listed as a linebacker, which is crazy, but that's a topic for another day. But really good value for a great player who ended up flashing in Senior Bowl. 161, you got the Eagles going BJ Adams, cornerback out of UCF. Another player I think should be transitioning to safety. Not really a big fan of the fit, especially at 161. 162, you got the Jets going Ty Ingram Dawkins, another player who's super intriguing, but with the fifth-year contract signed for all the first-round picks, including Jermaine Johnson, I don't know if they're going to be focused too heavily on that. And Ty Ingram Dawkins a little bit on the rawer side for me to take him at 162 given the situation. Panthers go after undersized linebacker Nick Martin at 163. Great athleticism. I mean, you don't need him to start because you have Jalen Walker there to be like kind of the focal point of the draft class, but would be intrigued to see Nick Martin almost even transition to safety. He's a really good player. It's just the undersized aspect of that 220 range. That's what's scary. Kobe King goes to the Philadelphia Eagles at 164. He's a linebacker, also paired up with tight end Jalen Conyers to the Eagles, both at 164, 165. Kobe King tested out very well for being 240 pounds as a linebacker. Jalen Conyers looked really solid in Dallas at his frame and tested out very well at the combine as well. Both players of needed positions and really solid value. 166, you got the Texans going Luke Lachey, tight end out of Iowa. I mean, without the injury, he's worth a day 2 pick, so good value. 167, the Titans go after defensive interior Tonka Hemingway. I don't think Tonka ever deserved being taken, if I'm just going to be honest. Like, he's a round 7 considerable guy for me, so I'll leave that there. 168, the Eagles are back on the board. They go after running back Kyle Monangai, and I actually think this is really good because it complements Will Shipley well. Kyle Monangai is more of a bowling ball. Will Shipley more of a one-cut back. Monangai is a top 5 running back for me. I think I fully support this move. 169 and 170 are for the Buffalo Bills. They select LaQuint Allen, running back out of Syracuse, and Ashton Gillette. Galote, edge rusher / defensive lineman out of Louisville. Ashton ended up testing out way better than he showed on tape, but he's a pocket pusher, and now he shows some straight line speed. Would be intriguing to use in a 4-3, and then LeQuint is a great back. I mean, he's pretty damn smart, but he's a really good receiver and pass blocking back. Feel free to check out my best day 3 gems video to understand what I think of LeQuint Allen. Patriots then go after tight end Thomas Fedone at 171. Continue to get youth there in that tight end room. Never a bad idea. I'm not the biggest Thomas Fedone guy, but I also don't think he's bad. I called him Flintstone when he was over in Mobile, because he ran. He looked very funny, like a Flintstone. But we'll see if that's empirical on the field if he ends up sticking in the NFL. Ollie Gordon goes at 172 to the Seahawks. Really solid running back in like 2023. Just ended up having a big fall off this past year. We'll see if he ends up bouncing back. Bills ended up going after interior offensive lineman Josh Gray, a former tackle, athletic player, just got to build some depth. And 174, the Cowboys go after interior offensive lineman Seth McLaughlin. The offensive line really took a tank when it ended up losing both Josh Simmons and Seth McLaughlin. Really solid backup to have. Shamar James, linebacker to Florida, goes to the Seahawks at 175. Young, high potential player, didn't test out as well as he looked. 176, you got the Ravens going safety Malachi Moore. Go best player available, high floor, Eric DeCosta move. I respect it. Round 6 starts with the Bills going wide receiver Jalen Lane. Got to show some love to my boy right here. Very solid wide receiver for the value. Titans then go after tight end Mitchell Evans. I love that fit as well. He could end up potentially being a starter if all is healthy and he is back to 100%. Cleveland Browns end up getting after pass rusher Antoine Powell-Ryland, who I used to have in my top 32, but based on his overall performance in the offseason, as well as his arm length being atrocious, ended up like pushing him down noticeably. But for the Browns specifically, this is a really good player to have grow under Joe Tryon-Shoyinka. 180, you got the Raiders going after edge Jaw Joyner. He tested out very poorly. If you look at I don't know how much stock to put in this because I don't necessarily think it's a very good one. The production to athletics score cross chart, the one player who is like horrible at both is Jaw Joyner. I will say he had some solid floor to him. I just don't think that edge needs to be the focal point for the Raiders at 180 with someone who's a little bit more lower floor. Chargers go after defensive back Tommy Hill at 181. I think he's a safety more than anything. I think he's super athletically limited and can't stay as a corner unless you're using him off coverage a lot. Jaguars go Eugene Asante, linebacker out of Auburn. Really fun player. Didn't really dive deep enough to give you much more than that, but I do think that the Jaguars taking some swings on athletic players, worth it. Ravens are back on the clock. They go wide receiver Pat Bryant. Reliable receiver, very good value for him. Some people liked him even as early as the second round, even a couple months ago. 184, the Saints go Fadil Diggs. Really good value for an edge rusher at 184. Good pass rusher to have for the Saints. The Steelers end up going after our boy wide receiver Andrew Armstrong at 185. Andrew Armstrong is friend of the show. You can feel free to check out that interview as well. He's just a little bit on the older side. Really good receiver to have, though, nonetheless. 186, you got the Jets going Upton Stout, defensive back out of Western Kentucky. He can end up playing the slot. He can play on the boundary. He can play safety. I think that his best is at close to the line of scrimmage. So we'll see if that ends up working out. 187, you got the Vikings going Bryce Cabledew, former left tackle, kicked into guard for Kansas. Why not? Good athlete. Kansas develops high floor offensive lineman. Titans end up getting a running back here in Taj Brooks. He's a little bit on the older side. I'd prefer someone a little more developmental, but good explosiveness. Fits the MO of Tajay Spears as well as Tony Pollard. I'm tripping up on names. At 189, you got the Colts going Garrett Dellinger. I switched up the D and the G. Went straight dyslexic there, but he's just not athletically gifted the way that I think the Colts would be targeting. And I don't think he's good enough to be drafted. I really wish he were. Number 190, you got the Rams going Quay Robinson, edge rusher / linebacker. I'll put that in there. He has some good linebacker reps out of Alabama. He is going to be a super fun player to watch. And this is a low pressure environment. I could see it working out. Broncos go after wide receiver Tez Johnson and pair him back up with Bo Nix. I support it, even though he is kind of a twig. Number 192, we got the Cleveland Browns going Nazir Stackhouse, defensive interior out of Georgia. I just don't think he's draftable. Hate to say it. I just don't think he's draftable. 193, the Bengals go after safety RJ Mickens. Good range for him to go. He's going to be one of those day 3 safeties that I really do like. Even though he was underwhelming, it's just as a day 3 safety, he's a good player. 194, the Jaguars go after Justin Wally. A big fan base for Justin Wally. I just wasn't fully sold on him. But again, it's 194, worth the shot. 195, the Rams go after running back Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt out of Arizona. Really good value there. He is someone who I think is RB21 for me. In 196, you got the Lions going Jackson Hawes, excellent blocking tight end out of Georgia Tech. Good value to have him. And honestly, one of the fits where I wish there would be more of a receiving upside for him, but the Lions like to run the ball. I respect it. 197, you got the Broncos going after a receiving tight end, Jake Brenningstool. And again, I almost would want to switch the Lions and the Broncos for Brenningstool to be an understudy to Laporta and then Hawes to be a primary blocking tight end so you can have Evan Ingram off the line of scrimmage. I think that would end up working out better, but you guys know me. I'm a big fan of Jake Brenningstool. Number 198, the Packers go Issa Pohl. He's been getting a lot of attention there, the tackle out of Washington State. A lot of attention from top 30s for teams that are probably looking at him in this range. At 199, the Chargers go after tackle Caleb Etienne out of BYU. Very, very good performer overall. BYU just, though, like they haven't really faced too much. And Caleb Etienne, though, really good statistically. So 200, you got the Browns going Drew Kendall, like good flexible offensive interior. I respect it. At 200, that's pretty much what you should be aiming for. The Rams end up going back-to-back picks here, selecting quarterback Dylan Gabriel and tight end Maliki Montavau. Both excellent value. Maliki's a high floor player that is just going to be a really solid tight end 3. And Dylan Gabriel is an excellent backup quarterback. I would be intrigued to see how McVay would use him if he ends up having to, but he doesn't really fit the quarterback style that you necessarily have. 203, you got the Ravens going at linebacker Kane Medrano. By the way, I'm trying to say the position just because I know I've gotten a couple comments from some of y'all who have been like, hey, I'm on the Stairmaster, would love to be able to understand the positions, don't know all these players, and especially for videos like this, I want to make sure that you guys know that. But Kane Medrano is a really fun linebacker, really good value, like pretty much on sale Carson Schwarzenegger. 204, the Cowboys go after tackle Carson Vincent, and really good developmental tackle. I just haven't seen the Cowboys develop too much in terms of tackle play. We'd be a little bit worried about that. A team where I would have loved to see him go is Washington Commanders, who end up selecting wide receiver Arian Smith. Gets a good deep threat there with a pinpoint quarterback like Jalen. JD would have some good throws to Arian. The question is, would Arian catch them? Bills go after defensive back Mac McWilliams at 206. He's a top 50 player on my board. I'm going to fully support him all the way. And I think it's a good one to have. He is kind of almost the exact opposite of Trey Amos, so it'd be very intriguing to see that. 207, the Jets go after safety Craig Woodson, another one of my guys. Craig Woodson's a stud, top 100 player on my board. Probably the best coverage safety for the value in the class. Not saying at 207, I'm saying at where I have him listed, which is a late second or late day 2 player. 208, we got the Broncos going edge, Tyler Barron. Good value, player who's very consistent, just not very flashy and high ceiling in the NFL. 209, you got the Chargers going interior offensive lineman Jake Majors. Just has short arms, but again, another high floor interior offensive lineman. 210, we got the Baltimore Ravens going after running back at Jarquez Hunter. Just, again, good value, someone who can end up sticking to a 53 if need to, but more of a high-end practice squad guy. Cowboys then end up getting one of my favorite players in the class, wide receiver Jimmy Horn Jr. He's explosive, he's tenacious, really good player overall. Number 212, we got the Baltimore Ravens going after defensive back Robert Longerbeam. Whether he's in the slot or the boundary, I don't know, but he was really productive there for Rutgers overall. The Raiders end up getting tackled Jack Nelson at 213. Just somebody who's been falling solely because he hasn't been doing much in the offseason. I think that his play ends up saying I'm a top 120 player in the class. Him missing out on Mobile was a big kick in the balls, though. I don't know why he did that. 214, the Chargers go Elijah Badger, wide receiver out of Florida. He popped off this year. Really good value for the Chargers there. 215, we're back with the Raiders. They go defensive back Jason Marshall. Could be a safety, but good zone instincts. Has the floor to be able to, grow as a press defender. Good build. We'll see where he goes. 216, the Browns go after depth linebacker Cody Simon. Especially for the Browns where they're continuing to grow and develop. Could be net profit at that spot. Let's finish off round 7, though. Marcus Siegel tested out very well, safety for Kansas State. He goes to the Cowboys. Good to have as a depth safety or a practice squad guy with potential. The Falcons end up going Eli Cox, center out of Kentucky. Not a fan of that, but I do understand center's a need for him. Maybe they take a couple shots here and there. Jazz go after defensive back J.J. Roberts. A lot of people have mentioned him, so TBD on that. I did not study him. I'll be fully transparent. I do not comment on special teamers. Andres Borregales, the kicker out of Miami, goes to the Patriots. Again, not going to comment about it. Jaguars then go after quarterback Riley Leonard at 221. Maybe in more run-heavy situations, you can sub out Trev for him. We'll see. I don't know. 222, you got the Raiders going after defensive interior Cam Horsley. Good value. I don't think they need to focus on defensive interior as much as this draft suggests, but, it's never a bad idea to fortify the trenches. Seahawks go after really good safety Dan Jackson in the 7th round. His tenacity and his run defense, really solid. I think that's a good pickup. Dolphins go after really good player here as well in Jabbar Muhammad, cornerback / defensive back out of Oregon. Just a lot of small defensive backs that the Dolphins got in this draft. Cardinals ended up going after receiver Nick Nash, who will also, I believe, be 26. And, he ended up winning the Triple Crown, but I just didn't see it with him in person. Chiefs end up going after someone who I did see in the very same room as Nick Nash be able to pop off. It's Elijah Huzzie, good slot corner out of North Carolina. At number 227, we got the Niners going after quarterback Curtis Rourke. Perfectly fits. This could end up being a good quarterback to keep Brock Purdy in line, because I'm not saying that he's going to challenge Brock Purdy, but there's a really high floor backup quarterback that doesn't allow quarterbacks to slip in front of him. 228, you got the Lions going to Quan Felton, really good, 6'5", 220-pound receiver, tested out better than expected. Good pickup there for the Lions. Panthers go Tim Smith, defensive interior out of Alabama at 230. Worth it. Tim Smith has some good flashes. Johnny Walker showed out at the actual Shrine Bowl game. He ends up going to the Dolphins here to fortify that edge crew. 132, we got the Colts going quarterback Max Brosmer. Doesn't really fit the quarterbacks they brought on, but he's a really, really high ceiling quarterback. Number 233, the Bears go after guard Jackson Slater. He showed out in Mobile. I'd be happy with him being taken as high as the 5th round. Then we have the Seahawks going Elijah Ponder, edge out of Cal Poly. I have not studied him. TBD on that. Buccaneers go after one of my favorite defensive backs in the class, Sebastian Castro at 235. I don't know why people don't like him. He's going to be a steal. 236, we got the Texans going Ricky White, receiver / special teamer at UNLV. This dude's been an absolute stud in special teams as well. Great pickup there. Packers go after edge Tyler Beatty at 237. He's just a little bit older. I'd want him for a pure 4-3 system, but I'd be happy with him going into this group of guys. 238, you got the Patriots going after defensive interior Junior Tafuna. He was underwhelming to me, but looked good in Senior Bowl. Worth the shot, 238. 239, you got the Cowboys going after linebacker Chandler Martin. He looked very good when I got to see him at the Frisco Bowl, but, at 239, it's good value. Bears end up going after a great weapon here in LeJontay Wester, who I have graded pretty damn highly. Very good receiver, explosive, crisp, really good after the catch. That he's someone who I think could start in the slot. Colin Oliver, edge rusher / linebacker, Oklahoma State, goes to the Texans. Would love to see how they utilize him, but good depth nonetheless. Falcons get one of my favorite nose tackles in the class for the value in Yaya Black with 35-inch arms to replace Grady Jarrett's carcass, which is perfectly fine by me. Rawan Lane goes to the Ravens at 243. Flashy safety. Didn't really see much from him, though. Detroit Lions go after another flashy player here, Jared Harrison Hunt, pony up SMU. I love taking the high ceiling defensive interior that doesn't need to do much early on. Commanders then go after a defensive back out of Jackson State and Robert McDaniel. Did not see enough of him to have an honest opinion. 246, you got the Giants going after linebacker Jackson Woodard. I did not see enough of him either. I hate to say it. I usually know the majority of these guys, but there's definitely some buzz in a lot of special teamers that get selected around this point. Cowboys go after really solid tight end for the value, Josh Simon out of South Carolina. Probably will be a special teamer, but, definitely has some backup potential there. Saints go after good receiving back here in Woody Marks. Good value there. Just pretty much having some redundancy there with Kamara. Then you have the Packers going after center Jonah Monheim. He's played every position on the offensive line, which is crazy. Just doesn't have very good length, has a poor anchor, but worth the shot at 250. Efton Chisholm's one of my favorite receivers from Dallas, and he ends up going to the Chiefs at 251. Good value there. Another special teamer to the Niners at 252. Not going to comment on that. The Dolphins go Branson Taylor. I've heard some good things of him out of Pitt. Didn't hear much more than him being a PFA, though. Priority free agent. New Orleans then goes CJ Dupre, tight end of Alabama, 524. Jeez, my dyslexia is kicking in. 254 for what you can end up getting out of him with Kellen Moore, this could end up actually being a really good pick. 255, the Browns go Raheem Rocket Sanders. If he stays healthy, he'll be a really good back to have as like an RB3 or 4. Teddy Buchanan, linebacker out of Cal, tested out really well. He goes to the Chargers. I like that fit to be a backup there. And then Maxon Hook, the safety out of Toledo, goes to the Chiefs at 257 to take a shot on a good defensive back crew and one of their best that they had this year. That's going to be the video. Thanks so much for watching. Love you. See you on the far side. Peace.